Hi, this is Steve Ehrman, Director of the Flashlight Program, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about the current student inventory and how to use it in Flashlight Online 1.0. The birth of the student inventory was a request from Alfredo de los Santos of the Maricopa Community College District for some way of studying whether investments in technology infrastructure across an entire community college district was leading perhaps to improvements in teaching and learning outcomes. We went from there to realizing that while it was essentially impossible to measure all the outcomes of education across an entire community college district, many campuses, many disciplines, it might be possible to study changes in the kinds of teaching and learning activities that, on the one hand, tend to lead to better learning outcomes, and on the other, are often fostered with uses of technology. Activities like the Chickering and Gamson 7 Principles of Good Practice. We developed an item bank of over 500 questions that could be chosen from and included in surveys as a way of gathering information from currently enrolled students in order to understand something about the relationship of technology, the activities using technology, and perhaps outcomes as well. So let's take a look at a little bit of that current student inventory and how you can use Flashlight Online to draw from it. We're looking right now at the sort of table of contents screen of Flashlight Online. Here at the bottom, you've probably seen this before, is the button you push if you want to write your own questions. But we're going to focus up here on these 4 lines, all of which are ways of searching through the current student inventory. We'll begin with the first one, table of contents. You can scroll down a little bit. First group of items, teaching and learning, are all questions which are relatively technology neutral, but which you can use across many disciplines in order to study what it is that students are doing and what they see faculty doing. Since this course began, how frequently have you done each of the following? And you can click on anything that you want to include in your survey. For example, A stands for active learning, C for collaborative learning, and we'll come back to this metadata in a little bit. So this is a question that is both about active learning and collaborative learning, 2 different principles among the 7. And the student would be answering these 3 or more times, 1 or 2 times, none, not at all. Of course, you can copy these questions into Flashlight Online, or for that matter, into other survey engines and change these scales if you want to. Scroll down here a little bit. I'm not going to go through all 500 questions, but I do want to give you some sense of the variety that's here. And now we get into some questions that are, how frequently have you done this in addition to listening to a lecture, for this course 1 time in person or on audio and videotape, how frequently have you done each of these things? Slightly different beginning to the question. Here are some issues about the relative priority given to various teaching and learning activities. Scroll down some more. Here's some agree-disagree statements, again about different kinds of activities. Here's another one, for example, about collaborative learning. The emphasis on working in groups in this course has helped me to understand the ideas and concepts being taught. So here's a question that links activities and outcomes. Getting the student's perception about whether the activity is for that student helping to achieve the outcome. Here's some questions about time spent on task, another one of the 7 principles of good practice. Okay, let's go back to the table of contents. The biggest single section of the current student inventory has to do with different technologies and how they're used to support different teaching and learning activities. So for example, perhaps the biggest section in this larger area is on electronic communication. You can say I want to ask the student to look back, so how likely were you to communicate with content experts outside your college and university? And this certainly does happen, so you can check that. This is how you include things in the survey, check or uncheck. More likely, somewhat more likely. Scroll around here. About the same, less, much less. No basis for judgment. Scroll down, we'll find a different set of questions. Oops. Anytime you pick questions, you always click Submit or OK at the bottom of the page. That makes sure that your choices are recorded in your survey. Till you click on this, the data is on your PC, but it's not on the server where your actual survey is being created. Let's go back to that table of contents page. I'm going to let you just explore the table of contents at your leisure. I just want to show you the other ways of getting into the current student inventory. We've been looking at the table of contents. This item bank index is live, so you can find different topics, engagement and learning, for example. This is pulled up all the questions that have to do with engagement, pulled them up, put them all in one place. Include that one in our survey. Hit the back arrow here. Questions aren't live, but the topics are faculty-student interaction. Here are those same numbers, by the way, that you were looking at. Hit the back arrow again. Here we are again in this table of contents screen. Excuse me. This is my favorite, the subscales index. This is an even easier way to look at things thematically. Respect for diversity, for example, pulls together all. This is a live search every time you push one of those buttons. Here's a question sort of in the general teaching and learning area about the importance of diversity. And then we've got some questions that ask about the relevance of technology. Think about a similar course you've taken that relied primarily on face-to-face compared to that course. Because of the way this course uses electronic communications, how likely are you to get to know students who are different from you in their physical abilities? Just an example of a question. And finally, you can just use a search button and put in a question to see if there's any particular word that shows up. I don't actually know whether the word interact is used anywhere, but we'll find out. Yeah, there's one. Interacted with someone from a racial or cultural background different from your own as part of this course, and so on down. So lots of different ways of searching live through the current student inventory. I recommend that you take a look at the table of contents pretty extensively, or if you've got a copy of the Yellow Flashlight Evaluation Handbook, you'll see there are a huge variety of questions, not just about the teaching and learning process, but about the kinds of training that are available, the ways in which the student uses technology outside this course, demographic questions, questions about distance learning. It gives you quite a wide range of ways of studying whether infrastructure is supporting different kinds of teaching and learning activities, and some ways of looking at whether those teaching and learning activities are, from the student's point of view, leading to the kinds of outcomes that you're interested in seeing. That's it, the current student inventory. I'm Steve Ehrman. You can reach me at Ehrman, E-H-R-M-A-N-N, @tltgroup.org, or correspond with us by emailing flashlight@tltgroup.org. I'd like to hear what you think about Flashlight Online and about this tutorial. Thanks very much.